Um, First of all, thank you for being here. We recognize that this is a very important issue in the city, and it's also gained national attention. I want to say on behalf of Mr. Rice that he has fully cooperated with the Dallas Police Department. Every question that was asked of him, he responded to the Dallas Police Department. And we will continue to cooperate with him in terms of this particular accident. What I really wanted to mention today and bring to the attention of the community is, number one, this is my law partner, Craig Capua, C-A-P-U-A. We've been together now for what, 29
years.
29 years. In terms of the persons involved in this accident. Mr. Rice wants to make certain that it's understood and appreciated that he's going to do everything in his power to bring their life back to as normal as possible in terms of injuries, in terms of property damage. He'll make certain that he is responsible for helping them to get through that particular part of this. Now, don't get us wrong. We understand that no one can ever bring back to a person who has been in an accident help them get over the memories of being in that accident. But the fact is that we're going to do everything within our power to do so. Now, where do we go from here, Blake? Because that's kind of been the question. We'll continue to work with the Dallas Police Department as it relates to answering questions that we can. And depending upon what they do, obviously, it'll go to the Dallas County District Attorney's Office, and we'll work through them also. So with that, I'll answer any questions that you have.
Well, who was driving?
Thank you for asking. Thank you for asking that question. During the interview, Mr. Rice acknowledged that he was driving the Lamborghini. That was the question that was asked, and he responded to that he was driving the Lamborghini.
Mr. West, where is he right now, and why is he not here speaking for himself and making those comments?
Well, let me say this. In terms of him speaking, he will speak, but again, some of the vitriol that's been going on in the media, which we can understand because that's how it works. The fact is, you got a 23-year-old young man that's never been in this type of situation before. And so you will get an opportunity to hear from him, hopefully within the next week.
Why did it take so long for you guys to talk? It's actually Saturdays.
Do you think that's long? Well, as a lawyer, some 40 years, recognizing that there's some criminal overtones. Number one, he had to get counsel. And then secondly, counsel had to get some sort of idea of what was going on. If you talk with the police department, they will tell you that we as his counsel, reached out to them on Sunday evening. So that's not long at all. And they will also tell you that we've had 2 meetings. So that's not long at all.
Senator West, can you explain, help us understand why this group of men left the scene after the accident happened?
It's a good question that's still being investigated, and I can't go into the particulars now, but we will.
There was a point where someone was saying their chests hurt. Can you give us a little insight on that?
All the insight I can give you now is that there's a continuing investigation, and we're working with them on that.
So what happens next?
What happens next is, number one, we continue to work with the Dallas Police Department, answering questions that they have. Secondly, we work with the victims to make certain that we deal with their issues, be it bodily injury or property damage. We work with them on that. Yes, we have. We've reached out to the representatives, and we continue to reach out to the representatives. In fact, the reality is that as soon as we leave here, Craig's going to be reaching out to some of the, we now know a couple of the other attorneys. We're going to be reaching out to some of the other attorneys. Number one, to find out how their clients are doing. I mean, you've reported in the news that there wasn't serious bodily injury associated with this, but we don't know that to be a fact. And so, to the extent that we can kind of make certain that we understand the seriousness of the injuries, that helps out. But importantly, we've got to talk to their representatives and hopefully talk to them eventually. I'm sorry, I could barely understand you.
Can you just give us a little insight about his timeline that day and how, in his account of it, so we can just clear the air on that?
Well, not right now because it's a part of the continuing investigation. But ultimately you'll be able to get that. All right. And just let me say to you, and many of you know, we've been here before. We're going to make certain that we're as transparent as we can about it and balancing out his constitutional rights, depending upon what happens with this particular case, and also making certain that we take care of the victim's rights. So I can't do that right now. We've got to see exactly how this investigation proceeds.
Is there anything you can say?
Hold on for 1 second. Yes.
The DPD said no charges are coming.
I'm sorry.
DPD has told us that there are charges coming. They just haven't specified which. That's how they communicated that.
Yes.
Now, Attorney West, you have referenced the vitriol in the media. Is there anything you can add to this conversation today to make this believe that you not think that this was a spoiled, entitled, rich athlete, that you cavalier with the lives of other people on that freeway?
Let me say this. You called him spoiled, entitled. I mean, but hold on for a second. Hold on a second. Why don't you do a story of who he is as opposed to what occurred? Because it seems as though what you're saying is based on this one incident, you're going to define him based on this incident as opposed to his entire body of work. I would say to each and every one of you, if all of us had to be defined by one incident, then that would be ridiculous as opposed to our entire body of work. So I'd ask that you, as the media, look at his entire body of work before saying exactly who he is. That would be a better, I think, representation of his body, of who he is.
I was asking if that was the vitriol that you were referring to. That narrative, was that the vitriol that you were referring to? That's what I was asking.
In part, yes, because you're defining him based on this one incident as in terms of, as opposed to exactly his entire life. And obviously, you can look at that. He played football at SMU. He's from North Texas. And so we in North Texas, specifically the media, has a great opportunity to make sure the world knows who he is. Is he a thug? Has been going around committing murders, rapes, robberies, and things like this? Or is he a young man that found himself in this situation and now needs to figure out exactly how he can balance, number one, taking care of the issues associated with the persons that were injured, and also making certain that his whole life is not just turned topsy-turvy and he has no future.
Senator, I'm sorry, in terms of communication with the Kansas City Chiefs and that organization, is it your position and Mr. Royce's position that they have the Chiefs' support in all this?
I have not spoken with the Chiefs at all. My main focus right now, my main focus over this last few days has been to, number one, understand as best possible the facts, and I still don't have all of the facts. Okay, make certain that the police department understood that Rashee was not running from anybody, trying to hide from anyone, but wanted to cooperate, which we've done. We've answered the questions that were asked of us, and then make certain also that we prioritize visiting with the families or representatives of the families that were involved in this accident. That's been our priorities.
Senator, there's been some reports that there were certain items found in the vehicles, including some paraphernalia for like his NFL team, cleats, a playbook, I think a check. There was also reports that there was marijuana found in at least one of the vehicles. Can you help us understand who that belonged to?
Number one, the only time I've heard about that is on television, okay, on the news. So I hadn't confirmed that at all.
Your client hasn't shared any of that
I have not confirmed that at all.
And you guys haven't seen the police report, because that's where we found it.
Oh, you have a police report? Well,
Yeah, we have copies.
Well, as of yesterday, they told us that no police report had been filed. Okay, so what you're telling me is that when the detectives told us yesterday that there's no police report that's been filed, that wasn't correct. A police report has been filed. And so again, all right, we want to be very transparent and work very closely with the police department and make certain that representations that we make are accurate representations. And as of yesterday, we were told that there was no police report filed. So we now need to get a copy of that police report.
And then obviously the public, as they're watching this play out, and we alluded to this earlier, why did he what? But you're saying, he was put in this situation, but in that situation, he still didn't get the people hurt, his cars were
Again,
damaged.
hold your judgment. Let the facts come out. Just like you just told me a second ago, a representation was made to me yesterday that appears to be not true.
But the fact that he walked away from the crash without checking on anyone is
Again, allow the investigation to kind of move forward, and then you'll understand more and more what's going on.
Have you seen the video?
Yes,
And what do you think of it?
I think that you've got to allow the investigation. I'm going to say this over and over again. Y'all can ask me as much as you want to. Okay? The investigation is not complete. All right? You've got to allow that investigation to be completed before drawing attention. I understand what you've got to do as a media. You do what you have to do. But just because you continue to ask me those questions, I'm not going to give you any other answer than what I just gave you. Again, our priority right now is making sure those persons involved in that accident are taken care of.
Can you talk a little bit about what that would look like, making sure that
Well, here's the deal. First of all, I've got to make certain I contact their representatives to assess what the level of injury is and what they think is necessary in order to address their needs.
have they given you any indication?
No, again, no, to answer your question. Because, again, our whole focus as of yesterday morning was to make certain we get with the Dallas Police Department and provide them answers to questions and gauge their level of cooperation with us. And apparently, there's a police report that's already been filed. When was it filed? Do you know? You got it yesterday or the day before yesterday? Okay. See, I was told the police report had not been filed, and that was as of yesterday. And so we've got to be upfront and honest with them, but we've got to depend on them to do the same thing with us. And I find that very disturbing that if that is in fact the case, that it was a misrepresentation made to me. Twice. I can barely hear you. Which,
How soon after the accident were you contacted by Rice's representative?
I'm not going to get into communications with my clients.
Right here?
So when was the last time you spoke with him? Is he going to be returning to Dallas for any kind of questioning, investigation?
We will now have to gauge whether or not that's appropriate given representations that have been made.
And obviously, the spotlight is on your client. They're fighting their individual cars. So what's happening with this?
My focus is my client. That's my focus right now. Are there any other questions?
I want to go back just one time. You said you contacted Dallas Police Sunday?
We contacted the Dallas Police Department Sunday night.
And the first meeting was, you said there was two separate meetings.
Either Monday or Monday. What's today? Today is Thursday. I think it was a Monday or Tuesday.
You met with them twice.
Yes.
You had your client twice?
No.
You once with your client once?
Right. Me once, and my client and myself second time.
How was he doing?
You know, under circumstances, here you have a young man, 23 years old, never been involved in anything like this. People were injured. His heart goes out to them, and he's watching his whole life play out in the media,
His career.
and then his career also. But basically his whole life. Again, don't judge him, Robbie, just based on this incident. Find out who he is, and then kind of develop who you think this young man is. He's a young man that made a mistake. How many of you have made a mistake? And if you're judged by that mistake that you've made, is that fair? But I can tell you this, but for the grace of God, someone could have been injured. I mean, seriously injured. He understands that. And he appreciates it. That's why he wanted to come out and say that he's going to be responsible for making certain that the victims are made whole as best possible.
Why did he choose to do that on Instagram? Why not maybe video?
You got it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Take care.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.